Drew's friend John Escobar is going to be courageous and follow that. Hello?
Hello.
Just by way of background, I want to say that I've known Drew for many, many years. We hiked and we biked and we skied together too many times to count. Sometimes we'd be part of a group when we did this, other times it would just be the two of us. And on these adventures, and I do use the word adventure, that you should know that Drew never had the concept of a short or pre-planned hike. It was always an adventure. But on these adventures, when it was just the two of us, we would often chat about our lives, and the world in general, and just about our family and about our jobs. He and I both practiced emergency medicine for many, many years, so we would often compare cases and just talk about the kind of the craziness that can sometimes be part of emergency medicine. So, I subscribe to an email newsletter, and it comes weekly on weekdays. And the newsletter always starts with some pithy little quote. And Tuesday morning, I opened the newsletter and found the following: "A good character is the best tombstone. Those who loved you and were helped by you will remember you when forget-me-nots have withered. Carve your name on hearts, not on marble." I must say, my first thought was, man, that's really weird to come this morning after what just I learned what happened. But my second thought was how much it reminded me of Drew. I want to say a few words about the kindness and the thoughtfulness that was Drew. He was always interested in my family, and especially my two daughters. He enjoyed their company, and they loved going on the outdoor adventures with him. They will miss that. He flew to Ohio to attend the funeral of my father. Drew was a stronger bike rider than I, and so if we were out with a group, I would tend to fall behind, and Drew would be ahead for a while, and then he'd realize that I was behind, and always he would peel off and he'd drop back, and he'd ride with me at my pace. We took a mountain bike trip in Moab with a couple of other people a couple of years ago, and the trails there were pretty wild, and I started falling, and Drew came prepared. He had brought with him elbow pads and knee pads. He kind of looked at me, and I'm left-handed and I tend to fall to the right. And he being a righty, Drew's solution was to give me the left elbow pad. He kept the right knee pad, the right elbow pad, and we were flying for the whole rest of the night. So I guess I always had a sense that he had this generous awareness of looking out for me as well as his other friends and certainly his family. He was my friend, and I'll miss him, and I'll give him on. Thank you. Anyone else that wants to come up? Drew was my friend. I recruited him to Central New Hampshire Associates. He drove me crazy at times, but he was our Drew. The day that Illinois called me to come in immediately because he had a sawzall and a nail gun, and he was redesigning the pit. He wasn't worried about gas mains or water lines. A lot of people
don't know probably that Drew saved my life. When I had a terrible anaphylactic reaction in the ER, Drew was the doctor, Eddie Richardson's wife Holly was the nurse, and Drew, as I was going in the tunnel, Drew turned to Holly and said, "Well, we have to save him, he's my boss." Later I said to Drew, would you have lingered a little bit if I wasn't? What were you going to do different? But when I was despondent after 3 back surgeries and down and out, Drew was the type that he came to your house, and he came to your house, and he came to your house. And he brought alcohol, and more alcohol, and more alcohol. But he was also one of the only guys with the guts to smuggle Cuban cigars out of France. And he always brought those. But Drew always went the next step. I mean, he did your farm work for you. He cut your wood. He would give you the shirt off his back. It wouldn't be washed, but he did. One Christmas Eve, our daughter was sick, and Drew came over the house with a bottle to give me, and he stayed with my daughter till the rest of us got back. Drew, I miss you terribly.
I was not planning to speak or address you all. I'm dealing with most of the grief privately, as the rest of my family is, and I wrote the obituary and did other things behind the scenes, but having a public presence is very difficult, as things in this past week have shown. But I don't want people to be angry. I was at first. And I know that there's a lot of that comes from this sort of thing. But well, it was more powerful than this. And whether it's God, as go at Mass, that was the whole point, God, but it doesn't have to be. It resided in the particular things that you all have spoken about and that are silent in your hearts. I guess it's hard. I can't put into words what my father meant to me. I could say he meant the world, or that the time I've spent with him means more than anything right now. And I'm grateful for all that time. But there is that loss, and it will be with me the rest of my life, and the mystery of it will remain. It's hard to say one thing about Father. I want to say everything, but I can't. And I won't say that I lost some future potential, because he lived a complete life. And I hope that you all believe that with me. And I hope it isn't about guessing at motivation or why, because there's something I became aware of this past week, and it was the awareness of peace. Not only for my dad, but for all of you, for everyone. And I became aware of that peace, and I'm aware of it at different times. Sometimes I feel only grief, and I have to go through that. But other times I am at peace, and I know that my Father's at peace, and that He loved us, that we loved Him. That somehow, even though we would like there to be more, we always want more, that was enough, and that if there's a spirit, and I believe there is, I hope that you all do too. It doesn't have to be God, it doesn't have to be Jesus, for sure. That wasn't the point of today, was wanted to have Christian burial, but it wasn't to convert anyone. But anyways, we wanted to give people an awareness of peace, or at least I did, and I think my mom did. To shout out Mom. But yeah, so I'm not going to drag on too long, but I'm glad I had an opportunity to speak. And I'm just so grateful for all the stories I've heard. I've learned so much about my dad this past week, and I'm sure I'll never stop learning about him through you all and through the Spirit.